Hello everyone. This is my first video on this PHP MySQL with Android app series. Uh, in this video, we are going to create a new database table in our local server. We are using WAMP server for this purpose. If you have a live server for that, you can go ahead and do with that. So at first, what you need to do is you need to download WAMP server. The link is given down. And then after installing your WAMP server, go ahead and press start and then type WAMP server and then sorry for the spelling, WAMP server, and then start it. Okay, once you start WAMP server, you're going to see this icon here. After this icon turns green, that means your WAMP server has successfully started, and so has your all the servers, PHP server, Apache servers inside it. So now open your browser and then open localhost /php myadmin. Okay, this is the window we are going to see of the PHP myadmin page of our WAMP server. My default username is root and the password is blank, so I'm logging in here. Okay, here are the list of databases that I've already done. If it's your first time using this, it must be empty, so click new here and then create a database, web server database, and then click create. Now we need tables for that. What we're going to do at first is we're going to implement our sign up and sign in options, so we need a user table for this. The number of columns will be 3. Let's go. Okay, the first field that we are going to insert is an ID, which is going to be our integer and also a primary key. Okay, and which has a function of auto increment. And the second field is going to be username. This is going to be a varchar, the length 20, and the third field is going to be a password, also a varchar, and length 20. Now click save. So we have a database here and we have our first table. Now what we need to do in order to insert some data from our app in this database and in this table, we need to write some PHP scripts for this. So what you need to do now is you need to check that WAMP server icon again, click on it, and then click on www directory. Okay, here we are again. If you are using this for the first time, this has to be empty in your case. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to name it tutorial scripts. All right, and then inside that I'm going to create a file with the name config.php. Okay, these files, all the PHP scripts that you need, you can type it from this video, or you can directly download it from the link given below. So let's open this and type in some content here. Open with Sublime Text. So okay, here you need to insert some configuration codes in PHP format for your database. Okay, I'm not going to bother you with all these codes here. I've just copied it from somewhere else. So what you need to do from this file is change these 4 attributes according to your requirements. Okay, the first attribute, username, is the login ID for your phpMyAdmin, which was root in my case, and the password was blank. Now the host is always a local host, and the DB name, you need to provide the database name that we just created here. Okay, our database name is web server database. So in our PHP script, we're going to change this to web server database. So what this code does is, you don't need to change anything else here. You can leave these codes as they are. What this does is they open a connection to your SQL database. Now what you're going to do is, we are going to create a sign up PHP file for sign up. Okay, let's open our folder again and then create a file. We will give this name register.php, then open it with Sublime Text. Okay, once again, I'm not going to bother you with the code here. So what we have here is a configuration file which is required for our database configuration, and what you need to know here is, we have a form here. We have a form here for our username and password. I guess we need to edit this. We have a username, password. Let me change it here. We don't need these phone numbers and everything. Okay, we just have 2 fields in our form and a submit button. Alright, so what we're doing here is, remember these names, user underscore name and for the other field, password. Alright, so what we're going to do here is, we're going to check if our inserted data field are empty or not. So if the field is empty, we have this as our response. Alright, again, if these fields are not empty, we are going to check if our username, if the inserted username already exists in the database table in this query. Alright, so if the username is already there, we are going to provide this response, and I'm sorry, this response. Alright, so if everything's fine, if you've inserted all the fields, if the credentials are inserted are okay, then what we're going to do is, we're going to insert into our table name, which we have as user table where user underscore name, I'm sorry, it's not user underscore name here. What we have given the name, I'm sorry for this. In this table we had 2 fields. One was a username and a password. So let's edit this here. Okay, this was username and this was password. We don't have the phone numbers or anything else, and the values actually come from, and these values actually come from our form which we had defined at last in this file. So we just represented our values as these variables. We still haven't assigned any values in these variables. So where do we do that? We do that in this array. So $user used here is actually the data that we insert in the username field in our form, and $pass is the value here which we insert in the next field in our form. So we don't need this. Okay, finally the statement is executed, and then if username and our data is successfully placed in the database, we get this response in the form of JSON here, right? So let's save this file, and also let's save this config.php file, and then open our browser, right? Then open our browser, and first let's check our config.php file. All right, so we have that in localhost. I don't remember the folder, what folder we created it in. Okay, tutorial scripts, localhost, tutorial scripts, and then config.php. If we get a blank screen here, that means there are no errors in our code and it's working fine. So config.php is in fact working fine. Now let's see register.php, which you just created here. Okay, if you see this file, you have a form here where you need to insert a username, a password, and here's a submit button. Okay, when you try to insert a blank data here, you get this response which we had defined in our PHP. I guess it's this response. Yes, it's that response. So let's reload it again, and then if we insert tutorial and then admin as password, and then try to register. Okay, this is still empty. Why is the value not being accepted? Tutorial and then admin and then register. Okay, this seems to be empty. Let me check it here in the PHP. So I think I found my mistake here. This was supposed to be username, this was supposed to be password, and we didn't have the phone number and address field here. Okay, you might be hearing some sounds in the background. Please ignore that. Let's save this and then try it again. Okay, I found the errors and I've corrected them all. You will get a full-fledged code in these PHP files, which you can download from the links given below. So let's try again. There is still an error in line number 17. If empty post, the empty post, the number of brackets are more. Okay, there's an unexpected in the statement here. Don't worry guys, you'll get a full code in the links below. Okay, let me try again. It's tutorial and then admin. So we have this response when the data has been successfully added to the database. Now let's go ahead and check in the table if we really have those values or not. It's in user table, and here you can see the values are here. So now what you need to do is you need to connect your Android application to this URL, to this specific URL, to this specific URL, and then fill in these forms, and then simulate the pressing of submit. Okay, when you submit those values, whatever response you get, you can see that, and then you can compare that and know whether you were successfully registered or not. So let's go on and create a new Android project. Let me close this. I have another project open here. Okay, let me close this too. Start a new Android project. It's SQL server example. So go ahead and build it. Okay, I'm going to pause this video for some time because the building surely takes some time here. The building is still going on. I'm not going to elaborate this video too much, so I'll see you guys in another video. Thank you.